Shalom everyone, and welcome to another year where we're talking about modern day Esthers and their journey. And so we really just felt there's so many heroes that are unsung heroes often, and some of them are maybe married to a husband and they see the husband more often and they don't see the wife or whatever. But there are heroes all throughout this country. We want you to get to know them. And one of them is a friend for many, many, many years. I lost track of how many years.
About 15,
something,
maybe?
15 years maybe, is Dina Yehuda. We're here in her back porch. And I wanted to ask you about your Esther moment. It's just a moment that you could think of, or moments where you could think of where, you know, how Esther had this life or death moment. She had to go before the king, and she prayed up before with her maids, and I just thought it was so amazing that everybody has an Esther moment. And do you have one?
Yes, I was just suddenly thought of one that I want to share with you. I want to tell you about my dad, Avraham Eliezer Gruskat. He survived the Holocaust. He was the only one who survived from his family, 50 cousins on one side. His father left an amazing will that'll be for another time. It's long stories, but my father wrote a book after he survived, after the war. I'm very grateful that he got married and that he had me. And the name of his book is in Hebrew, Ba'ovdan Moladati, which is exactly what Esther says to Achashverosh. She says to him, how can I stand by and see the loss, Ba'ovdan Moladati, my people?
Right.
I can't stand by and see the loss of and the tragedy of my people. And that's what broke the king. And that's that how. It reminded me of also our great patriarch that we have when Yehuda spoke to his father Jacob, to Yaakov. And he says to him, how? You know, when he says to Joseph, to Joseph, before he, when he's talking about, you know, his family and his father, he says, how can I see my father's pain? Right? How can I go back and tell my father, you know, that we didn't bring Benjamin back?
Right.
So that cry, how can we stand by and see our people suffering and not do something? So my father wrote this book in memory of his town and his family.
And he was in the Galilee, from the Galilee?
No, he lived in Slovakia, in Europe.
Right.
And after the war came to America, met my mom, got married. They never, but he was very proud that I moved here.
Oh, amazing.
Yes, but he and my mom made Aliyah. But this moment, I think when it says, when Mordechai says to Esther, Umi odea im la'et kazot higata malchut. Who knows if for this reason, perhaps for this reason, God put you in that moment of, and I think Trump felt that on his near-death experience, right? He was this close to being killed. And then he realized, you know, maybe God put me in this situation to do change, to do real change.
Yeah, in English they say it's translated for a time such, or for such a time as this.
For such a time,
as this.
Right, that's great. So really, it's really not me. There are so many amazing heroes, and as I once said in an interfaith group, there was this Arab sheikh and there was this priest, and someone asked me to come along. Really, I don't even know why. But they went over and they said to the priest, why are you here? He said, I am the archbishop of this entire Middle East, whatever. And then the Arab sheikh said, you know, and I'm in charge of like Palestine and Syria and Jordan. And why are you here? They said to me, Dina. And I just said, well, I'm just a simple mother from Galilee, a simple Jewish mother from Galilee.
Orthodox Jewish.
So they like that. So really, I'm just a simple mother from Galilee. But I've been privileged to we had about 5 soldiers during the war. And at some point we had 17 people in our safe room, in our mamad. And all of us mothers and wives during this time, I think are heroines, right?
I mean, even if someone's not in, like me, in a actual live fire situation or explosions, the trauma of even sending your son to go and defend that's a trauma too, and even seeing others die. Everyone's going through trauma in this country right now, but even those that are holding down the fort.
And you know, Esther says it's all about unity of the people, because Esther says, unlike Haman, who says, you know, there's this divided nation, they're scattered. she says, come together and pray and fast together. And once the people are together, I think we have tremendous strength and resilience. So there's a lot about the Esther story and the Purim story that really is so relevant now.
Yeah, I think you're very brave. The way, as an Orthodox Jewish Galilean mother, and how you helped to found your own village here, one of the pioneers. You have to be brave to be able to have dialogue with, you said, Muslims and Christians and Circassians, I don't know, Druze, whatever.
Right.
But you have to be pretty brave. And I know Esther, when she called that fast, I always remember this, that she did it with Persian ladies. Her servants weren't like, she didn't just say, all my Jewish girls. She got the Persian handmaidens or whatever, beauty attendants, to fast with her before she went.
Yes, and we feel with you and our Christian supporters and friends from all over the world, really like family.
Yeah.
And it's such a tremendous thing to know that we have that support here and that we're in this together. But there's a lot of things about Purim. The fact that we were nearly destroyed. The fact that, and looking back from the Holocaust, which was a Purim that actually happened. I mean, you know, with the terrible evil that makes no sense. It's really senseless. Why does Haman hate Mordecai? Because he doesn't bow down to him. So put him in prison. So kill Mordecai. No. So we've got to kill all the people, right? That's that anti-Semite, that hatred.
Yeah,
right?
like
and
the
the king in
Dreyfus,
Vashti said too, let's punish all the women. Right? Just this Vashti did something, like deal with that. But no, they make these generalizations about foreigners and and other people that they must be evil.
Yeah, I know that when the Jewish people were able to defend ourselves, and it looked like everything was turning around, but we think that you've eradicated, we had a victory there, but it didn't eradicate the anti-Semitism in that time. Obviously, we have the Holocaust happened, but I remember, just like you said, in the Dreyfus trial, the Richard Dreyfus?
No, not Richard. Alfred.
Alfred Dreyfus. And so what they said is a death to all the, he even wasn't a traitor, but they're like, they should have just said, even if he was a traitor, a Jewish traitor, then they could deal with him as a Jewish traitor, but he wasn't even a traitor. And then secondly, they said death to all the Jews.
Right, but you know something, there's light in every darkness. Something great came out of the Dreyfus trial and all his misery. Herzl, then a young, assimilated, secular, Viennese Jew who was very successful and wealthy and intelligent, everything. He had everything.
Yeah.
But the Dreyfus trial, that's what actually sparked him to start the whole Zionist movement.
Yeah.
So, God is working in mysterious ways, his wonders to perform, and uses sometimes surprising messengers.
100%. And so you're married and have how many children?
I am married. We're very privileged and blessed. I have one beautiful, lovely daughter. We're looking for a nice Jewish prince for her. But she has 7 older brothers.
Okay.
So we have 8. Yes.
Wow. One girl and
7 older brothers.
7 older brothers. Wow.
Yes, like Snow White or
right. That's awesome. Wow. And you all live here in the Galilee or you live in different places all throughout Israel, your children?
Yes, we are lucky that we're really fortunate. We have 3 sons who live here. There's a bunch of grandchildren here, and we're really blessed. When my son Eden, our youngest, we called him Eden because Eden means Garden of Eden, paradise. And if you have 7 boys, the folk saying is that you get to Gan Eden, you get to paradise.
Yes.
So he's my ticket. But when the first day of the war, he went off. He took my car and he left. His wife and kids moved in for a couple of months because they don't have the safe room. They live in a caravan in a mobile home. So, and my son downstairs, we enlarged our house. He's a psychologist. He's worked with the hostage families, gone all over the world with them. And so everyone's been touched, whether they're actively fighting. Then my son Benaya, number 3, came in from Philadelphia 3 times to be in Lebanon. And who thought at the age of 40 he'd be fighting, right? I mean, you're not 12 anymore.
No.
You're not 16.
Yeah, I was surprised too. Would you say that was an Esther moment to have the strength to even trust God with your children, the most precious things to you, people to you, your own children, and to just say, God, I trust you. What did she say? If I live, Esther said, if I live, I live. If I die, I die.
Right. Kasher avadati, avadati.
Yeah.
Right. As if I'm lost, I'm lost. But The thing is, I could have stayed in Brooklyn, in New York, where I had a very happy life, good family, nice community, everything. But realizing suddenly that I don't want to be on the sidelines. I want to be here like a player on the field, right? Not a spectator.
Yeah.
And even if we suffer, and even through everything that goes on, that's a good feeling. And we're really making history. We're not just watching it from the sidelines.
Yeah, you're
Right.
starring in the story of Israel, and I do love when the stories are of people that are not spoken of. The heroes, the heroines, like yourself, are visible, and people can celebrate that. Now, I know that in an Orthodox home, there's every Friday there is sometimes giving flowers, but there's a blessing, Eshet Chayil.
Right.
What does Eshet Chayil mean in English, or mean to you?
Woman of valor, who
Okay.
can find, right? It's
Yeah.
from Mishlei, it's from Proverbs.
Okay.
The interesting thing, and it's a quiz riddle for you.
Oh, okay.
If you go through all the verses, which are alphabetical in Hebrew, right?
Yeah.
What part of the body is mentioned over and over again, like 20 times?
Oh, in the actual Proverbs
Yeah.
31, starting with
Right.
verse 10.
Yeah, think about the last one.
Yeah.
Kamu baneh vayashru haba
Yes.
rabot banat yadeha kapeha.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Right,
It's her hands. Her hands.
Her hands.
Yeah.
Her hands. She's always
Her merchandise. She's
doing.
Yeah.
She's
Yeah.
always doing things, right?
Yeah.
She's taking care of everyone. She doesn't lie back and
Yeah.
watch Netflix, right?
She's considering fields, buying them. She's
Right.
Everything.
So I'm very far from that. I'm very far from
Oh.
I really think my default would be just to eat Ben and Jerry's and watch Netflix all day, But just making that decision, first of all, to come to Israel, but to get married and have kids. And I'm going to tell you a shocking little story because I hope my mom will forgive me. But she's a real heroine, and I'll tell you
Okay.
about her. You could go visit her. She's almost 95. I asked permission for her to tell this story.
Okay.
Okay, but it's a little shocking talking about
Okay.
Jewish heroines. All right, we ready
Okay.
for something a little startling that I'm going to reveal here?
Let's do it.
My father, after the Holocaust, said after 3 kids, he had enough kids. He said, I'm done. But my mom wanted more kids. And like the Jews in Egypt
Yeah.
during the slavery, the men said, no more kids. They're throwing boys in the river. Why have more children?
Right.
But the women said, no, we want to have more kids. So they had their ways, and they
Right.
had more kids.
Right.
So my mom basically, she only told me this, I'm 67, she told me this a few months ago for the first time. I guess she's getting older, she wanted to reveal this
Okay.
moment without her knowing anything about the women in Egypt. It was Seder night, Pesach night. What do you do Seder night? You drink
Right. The cups of wine.
4
That's
cups
right.
of wine.
Yeah.
So she got my father a little drunk.
Okay.
And if you go back, you go 9 months after
Right.
that, it's my birthday.
Oh.
January. So she told me that.
Oh, wow.
She really wanted more
Okay.
kids. So,
So
Mom, I
she's
hope
like-
you forgive me for saying this to me. I don't know how many people
She
are going to
got
watch
some
this.
action going on. Wow. Oh, yeah.
But
Because she.
the Jewish heroine,
Yeah.
women like my mom, they want to have kids.
Yeah.
They want to bring forth kids, even in times of darkness and difficulties, because there's optimism, there's faith, they're pro-life. They choose
true.
life.
People forget that women are the ones who actually shape a nation. They're the ones who teach the kids, and we see how in Gaza the women taught them wrongly, and the men. But there's this thing where they teach you correctly and raise them in proper values and morals and role models and heroes. And so I've seen that's how you build a nation is by but where you mistreat the woman or what is it called? Belittle or cheapen is
Right,
the word.
right.
Then your society goes.
Right. I'll give you a great example of this. Edin came back from being in Jenin. He had to watch this woman and her kids while they were looking for her terrorist husband. And she wasn't afraid, and she just stood by. She had a boy who was about 5 years old and a girl who was about 7. And she was very calm until she started screaming, Al-Banat! Al-Banat! Why was she screaming at her son? Because he was playing with his sister's dolls, not with his guns, which he should have been playing with.
Interesting.
In her mind.
Right.
The worst thing that could happen, my
Right.
son was actually there with a gun watching over,
Right.
right? Didn't faze her. But if
Right.
her son would start playing with dolls, she wants him to be a shaheed.
That's right.
That blew my mind. Aren't all women, all mothers? I guess not. It depends
No.
on your what you believe.
That's right.
And we're dealing with these kind of people. I mean, and it reminded me of the biblical story of Solomon. Two women, right? One
Fighting over the
woman,
baby.
her baby died. So she puts that baby she takes the live baby and gives the dead baby to the other woman, and they come in front of Solomon, and they both say, that's my baby, and Solomon, in his brilliance, says, cut the baby in half. I mean,
Yeah.
and the true mother says, no, I want that baby to live. Don't kill the baby.
Right.
But
And the
we're
other one says,
dealing,
yes,
we're dealing with the other women, with these women who
That's
are
right,
hard to
interesting.
believe, and they'll say, I'd rather my kids die, right? As long as they hate.
So wrong.
And that's our enemy.
Yeah, so you're nurturing children, but also people around the world. I don't know how many know this, but you also nurture and teach and help to bring the depths of Jewish wisdom to men and women all over the world. I believe, right? On this, you have some online gatherings and stuff, and even in your home. Is that right? Sometimes.
Well,
Shabbat
it's
dinners?
all because of your father-in-law,
Oh.
Dean. You know, Yair, my husband, met Dean. And no one has ever challenged us like that. Dean said, you're my older brother. You're supposed to be the light on the world and
That's right.
you know, to the nations, and teach me. So we went on this wild ride,
Yeah.
and it's made us better Jews.
Yeah, you know what I've really noticed is that in Israel, when we say every day, my house will be called a house of prayer for all nations. But as soon as someone is challenged on it, I say, what do you mean all nations? How is Jerusalem, Temple Mount going to be for all nations? Well, we mean just for us, for the Jewish people. It's like, well, that's not, there was a court of the Gentiles, and they're going to be coming in there, and what do we do with them? Or a light to the nations. Right. Israel's called to be a light to the nations. How? Out of the pill cam, I guess, this little camera. Right. Is that it? Is that the full extent? Or, right. And then 10 will grab on the tzitzit, on the...
So many people, Jews and Christians, don't know anything about this.
Right.
But like the whole Bible, I mean, this is the foundation. This is the source. Now...
and you're doing it.
But what we learned is, the world was created for all peoples, right? We're a very tiny nation. But if you look now at what's going on in politics, it's mind-blowing. Because 15 years ago, when somebody would have said, Mike Huckabee, whatever, these kind of people would be with power, and they can affect change. And the kind of things that Trump's come out and said about Gaza. It's
unbelievable.
But 15 years ago, you're dealing with these people, it seemed so bizarre and so outlandish and so unrealistic, because we kept hearing the same tired things, give up territory, calling it the West Bank, we need two nations,
Yeah.
Now we're hearing things that God has this purpose, and it's become kind of, wow, these are people in power.
Right. Now, I'm not saying anything against Taylor Swift or Beyonce or any of the other prominent people in front of the TVs all day long. But I think you are a role model to emulate for people. You have, because you give off confidence and a sound mind. And how do you, and that's my last question, how do you maintain a sound mind in such times where Shiri Bibas and her kids were just massacred? Yeah. How do you maintain a sound mind?
Wow, that is a good question. That's a good question. The first day I met Yair, our first date, was a very long day, and he started telling me about the war. He had been through the Yom Kippur War. And he had come at 15 as an American kid, watching a lot of TV, wasting time. But after the war and things that he saw there, he realized that time is precious. And you really have to use time well. And I think that realizing we have a purpose, that changes everything. It's like there's another existence that's superimposed on our existence here that we don't feel on the day-to-day. And I know when I gave birth and I saw my son, I said, where did you come from?
Right.
I realized, wow, there's some place, something eternal, that wasn't here before and is here now, but he's connected to something eternal. So knowing that gives you, and when you feel that and you believe in God, and I only believed in God from that moment of when I gave birth and I looked into his eyes. I mean, I had brought up religious, but didn't really
Right.
know it. So I feel sorry for you guys that you don't know it the way women know it who give birth.
Indeed, yeah.
'Cause
I've
it's-
never given birth before.
Maybe someday. But you know that there's something eternal. And it's not just what we see here now. So that faith, having that faith.
Because you see the soul, you see a spirit. It's not just meat. It's not just, you recognize
I
that.
looked into his eyes and I asked him, I didn't know his name yet, but where did you come from? Where did you come from? You know? And his eyes told me. They were so smart and wise and old, kind of. You know, I come from eternity.
Right.
There's a place of eternity
Right.
that we're all connected to. And I was privileged to be part of that, to be, you know, to bring that into the world. I could have said no. You know, my mom could have said no as far as, you know, I don't want more kids. But it's that choice. It's that choice for life.
Amazing. It's amazing that birth is even possible, that out of a person, another person can just through what's within your own body. But amazing. So, wow. So that's an Esther moment for you, just saying I am part of midwifing, bringing to birth, bring something beautiful and new into this world. So thank you for doing that on many levels. And anything you'd like to say to all these Esthers around the world?
Yes, I'm privileged to live in this magnificent, beautiful community, which I hope you'll come another time and we'll show you all around, with a lot of heroines. I didn't even tell you about half of these great neighbors that I have here. But I would love if you come, seriously, mitzpeh netofa, think of not too far, netofa, and come for a Shabbat. We'll show you around. It takes a village. There is a great community here. Come and really, come see us. Come visit.
Thanks for joining.